Welcome to another edition of Moxie Talk, where we give you an intimate look into the courage, character, and defining moments of today's most inspiring individuals. I'm Kirt Jacobs, host of Moxie Talk, where previous guests have included leaders from the world of politics, business, culinary, sports, entertainment, art, law, community activism, and philanthropy. Today, our 434th guest in our series, we welcome retired professional wrestler and co-owner of Ohio Valley Wrestling, drumroll, the one and only Al Snow, whose real name is Allen Ray Sarven, a well-known figure in the professional wrestling industry, both as a performer and as a trainer. He was born on July 18, 1963 in Lima, Ohio. Snow has had a long and varied wrestling career for major organizations such as WWE, which is the World Wrestling Entertainment, and ECW, which is Extreme Championship Wrestling, and TNA, which is Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, among others. Now, Al is perhaps best known for his time in WWE during the late 1990s, early 2000s, where he was recognized for his charismatic personality and in-ring abilities. He will talk about this extensively, but he was also famous for his gimmick with head, a mannequin head that he carried to the ring and used as part of his act, which became a huge hit, understandably, with fans. In addition to his wrestling career, Al Snow is a respected wrestling trainer. He took over OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling, a Louisville, Kentucky-based wrestling promotion operation that has served as WWE's and Impact Wrestling's developmental territory. And under Snow's leadership, OVW has continued to be a prominent training ground for up-and-coming wrestling talent, contributing significantly to the development of future stars. In fact, Snow was featured heavily in the 2023 Netflix docuseries, What Else?, called Wrestlers. And following the series release, OVW had their first Thursday night sold-out show in 8 years. Al has 6 children, and in 2017, he married the lovely Jessica Goucher, and in 2021, Snow saved the life of a child from an ocean riptide at Santa Rosa Beach, which says to me that wrestlers do have a heart. Welcome, Al. We are humbled and honored you took your valuable time to be with us today on Moxie Talk. Thanks for being here.
I really appreciate you having me. I'm really was excited about coming down here and doing this. It's really, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so my son and I, and a lot of people that'll see this might have learned about you the first time through the Netflix series, Wrestlers. We turned it on, didn't know what to expect. My son didn't really even know, he's 12 at this particular time. He didn't really know even anything about wrestling. He didn't grow up in the era of, Dirty Dutchman and was Jerry Lawler, there's a million names.
Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah. Was it Jimmy Hart, the manager, and Lance Russell, the MC. And so he got hooked, and we watched the whole thing, and he looks at me, and he goes, "You're welcome," and he says, "Can you get him on your show?" And I said, "If he's willing, we'll talk." I said, I think he'll come on down, I hope.
Yeah.
I said, "People are strange," I said, "but I think Al will do it." And then I met you and after the show out at Davis Arena, and that night was sold out too.
Yeah.
And you said, "Yeah, we'll look into it," and here we are.
Here we are.
So what drives you to excel in this area of wrestling? I mean, it's a unique career path. The last I checked, you can't major in wrestling. At least when I was coming up, maybe you can now. Yeah. I know you've had an academy, which we'll talk about.
I don't know. A lot of people have asked me that question over the years. And I think honestly, like for a pursuit such as this, or something like this too, like if you can answer why you're doing it, you probably really shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these types of vocations are ones that are pursued out of a sense of passion, of drive.
Amen. Yeah.
And let's face it, it's usually, the odds are you're probably not going to get rich doing whatever it is you're really passionate about wanting to do.
Yeah,
but
I think it's kind of God's little joke on everybody.
Yeah.
I want to give you this great talent or passion, but yeah.
Yeah, you're probably not going to make a whole lot of money. But you do it and you enjoy it, and then as such, like I've been blessed. I mean, I'm coming up on, this May will be my 41st anniversary of being a professional wrestler, and Luckily, nobody's figured out. I have no clue what I'm doing. So,
Well, I would argue you do from afar, but I understand what you mean.
but you know, I've been very blessed. I can't even say lucky. I've been very blessed because I grew up in a little small town in Ohio called Lima, and you know, everybody when I first was like declared I wanted to do this, were like, "You're out of your mind. You know, you're never going to do it." And I started when I was 18, and as a result, I've gotten to meet. I mean, like, get to do something like this. Yeah. I never in a million years would have had an opportunity to meet you, do things like this. I've been in 39 or 40 different countries, I think.
Who do you credit most influential in your life? It could be more than one, personal, professional.
You know, my mother and father. I mean, they instilled in me the things that have carried me forward. The older I've gotten, the more, you know, we always end up becoming our parents. You know what I mean? As much as we fight it and we resist it, you know, and boy, some days I go, I know where that came from. And, but I'm proud of it, you know. I was lucky to have the parents I had.
Yeah, same. Mine are gone. And
yeah, my father is gone, and my mother's still here, so. Yeah, she's still running the road. She's a real estate agent in Dayton, Ohio, and she, you know, calls me. You don't call enough. You know, I could be laying here dead on the floor and nobody knows.
That was my mother.
Yeah, but then I'll call and she'll be, oh, I gotta go. I don't have time.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Which
okay.
way do you want it?
Yeah, which way you want it?
I love that. But a quick aside, it resonated with me. You know, when we do the edits, the post-production on these, I'll watch myself and I'll see my father, mannerisms and stuff, and I'll forget.
Yeah.
That I'm watching myself, and I'll be like, "That's Dad."
Yeah.
You know, and that's a rewarding, reassuring feeling that he's always with you, I guess. What do you consider to be the most defining moment of your life, Al? And again, it could be more than one, personal and professional.
I don't know. I don't know if I've had that yet.
Okay.
And maybe I might have, and just didn't realize it.
Right.
I didn't have that epiphany at the time. I don't know. I think, you know, probably when I was. You know, and I disagree. I mean, I with myself. When I was 14, your life is defined by the decisions you make, and I made a decision that I wanted to be a professional wrestler when I was 14, and once I had made that decision, there was no looking back, and then that's what's led me here today. You know, a decision that I made when I was 14 years old has brought me sitting here across from you.
And we'll come back to that because we've got a question that refers to that. What do you consider to be your biggest professional triumph? And again, it can be more than one, personal as well.
I think the length of time that I've been able to do what I've been able to do.
What is the average?
It varies. I mean, you know, I don't think that there's any one set time frame. I think that now the windows are a lot tighter, a lot shorter than what they were years ago. But yeah, I think that, you know, for me to be able to have lasted as long as I've been able to last, and still, I feel to be in some way being relevant and still giving back and in a positive way has been pretty much a big accomplishment for me, anyways.
What does Al Snow consider to be the largest or hardest life lesson you've ever had to learn? We've already been through your injuries and surgeries, so maybe that was it, I don't know. But.
No, I've had lots of life lessons, lots, because I've made lots of mistakes. And I think probably the most valuable one I've learned is that, is to be honest with myself. You know, we all every day to some degree or another lie to everybody. But the one thing I've just come to accept is that I don't lie to me. I know my shortcomings, I know my positives, I know my negatives. I know that no matter what I do and no matter how I do it in somebody else's story, I'm the villain. And I just accept it. That's fine. I don't mind. I don't, the second thing, I think, three things. One, that. Two, the most valuable thing in life is respect, period. People say, you can't love somebody unless you love yourself. Yeah, you can. Lots of people don't love themselves. They love everybody. But you can't genuinely love somebody unless you respect them. And you can never respect someone unless you respect yourself. you know, and
I agree with
and
totally.
the only way you'll ever respect yourself is you be honest with yourself. And then the third thing is the most valuable thing you'll ever own is your name. No other thing ever will mean as much as your name and your reputation.
Mm-hmm. And in this age of technology and things, it can be gone faster
In a
than
heartbeat.
in a New York minute.
Listen, I was getting canceled before cancel culture started.
Right, exactly.
That lady wrote a letter to the Atlanta Constitution about my action figure, and they yanked that thing right off the shelves. So I was a national news event for about 2 weeks.
What was the issue with that? Since you brought it up, was it the way it looked or something?
Well, no, an assistant professor of all things of communications at Kennesaw State College in Georgia walked into Walmart at that time, and you know, and it was a perfect storm. She walked in with her child, saw my action figure, which, if anybody doesn't know, when I was a wrestler, I was, you know, carried a mannequin head with me and spoke to it, interacted with it, and without doing, because why would we want to do this? Any actual homework or research, because we're a professor of communications of all things.
Right.
Why would we actually want to delve into and really find out the facts? Now let's just jump to conclusions.
Right.
And then let's go a step further. Let's espouse that opinion in a public forum, you know, without ever actually finding out what's really going on with it. That should be fine. Should work out. I mean, the Salem witch trials were great that way.
Yeah.
And it was much the same case, because she looked at the action figure and they had a popped off Barbie doll head. It wasn't like, you know, where it was made like, it was literally just a, you know, when you were a kid and you took your sister's Barbie doll and popped the head off in the package. Okay. And see, she then thought that was a decapitated woman's head. And then in the letter to the Atlanta Constitution actually said that my action figure was a training manual for future spousal abusers. Wow. And listen, if you have bought my action figure and you grew up to beat up your spouse because of it, you have other problems other than just my action figure. Yeah, I think you're probably going to have other issues, and you might need a lot of medication. But I'm not there to judge, you know, and because wrestling was very, very prominent and very mainstream, popular at the time. Of course, the Atlanta Constitution is only in the business of selling newspapers and not really disseminating actual information. So they printed it, and then Walmart saw it, and they immediately went, my action figure is number 5 on the 23 or 24 things they will not sell at Walmart because it's a concern safety for the community. Granted, you can still go to Walmart and buy a rifle or a gun and a hunting knife to do things with, but don't you get my action figure. Pregnant Barbie was number 1. I think I'm number 5, so beat me
I'll
out.
just leave that there for the audience to disseminate. I'm not going to touch that one. What do you consider to be the biggest risk you've ever taken, Al? And again, did it pay off? And it could be more than one, personal and professional.
Biggest risk? Gosh, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'll assist here. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, buying into Ohio Valley Wrestling several years ago from this, I mean, I would say just not knowing you that well, that was probably something you had to really ponder, or maybe not. I don't think it would have been impulsive, but.
No, it was not impulsive. It was not the plan. That was certainly not something that I had set out to do, but it did occur and it did happen, and it was, I think, kind of predestined or you know, preordained, and so I don't really consider it a risk. I just consider it as another step in a particular direction that I'm supposed to go.
So Al, what do you consider to be your biggest mistake in your human journey? And you know, that's a big word for some people. You can call it regret, disappointment. Be more than one, personal and professional.
Oh, I've got plenty of mistakes. I have no regrets. I made certain choices, and that the only regret I have is that when I made those choices and those mistakes, other people suffered from me making those decisions. And that's where I learned the lesson that as a child, you break the rules, you make poor decisions, well, you're the only one that suffers the consequences. As an adult, those that you care about suffer those consequences with you. And that prevents me from necessarily making those same decisions. So,
right, well, you learn from your mistakes.
You learn
I
from
know
your
it sounds
mistakes,
cliche,
yes.
but yeah. What do you consider to be the best piece of advice ever given to you, Al? And again, it could be more than one, personal or professional.
Boy.
It can be I can be in the ring or life in general in this case.
The lesson I learned in wrestling, which is, and I apply it every day in life, and that is to take feces and make shoe polish. No matter
I like
what,
that choice of wording.
yeah, well, no matter what you're given, because you're always going to get, and you're going to be given a pile. Now you can sit there and commiserate and be sad and disappointed and victimized that you got a pile, or you can just take it, stir it up, make it into shoe polish. Your choice is yours.
If
you know
you think
what I mean?
about that and just 30,000 feet up, that's what every entrepreneur does.
That's what everybody does. It's just some people choose to sit there and wallow in a pile, and others decide to just go ahead and see what they can. You know what? If we dry that out, we stack it up, we can burn that for fuel.
Right, exactly. And moving on to the next question.
Right.
So this this goes back to the what we alluded to a moment ago. When was the aha moment in your human journey or your career path? You know, you mentioned when you were 14.
Yeah.
There's no familial history, just to bring that up again, in wrestling. It wasn't like your father was this preeminent wrestling persona or character. When was that aha moment? And it could be for wrestling or life in general. You can kind of interpret it either way.
I don't think I've stopped having those moments, honestly. I wish I could give you I know for some people I think they can give you a definitive answer for some of these things, but like I feel like I'm still constantly having those aha moments where another light goes on and I can put into a relation to the experiences I've had, why I've had them, how I could have had different ones or better ones or avoided certain ones if I'd have just been aware at that time. And so I'm very keen on observing. The more time and distance I have away from something, the more I can start to figure out and be honest with myself where I was responsible for that occurring, whether it be a success or a failure.
Well, you know, back to being 14, I mean, I'm not you, obviously, but just as a fellow human, that appears to me to be an aha moment. You kind of put your stake in the ground and said, this is what I'm going to do. And I would even argue today with a 14-year-old, you know, in 21st century America, if they said they wanted to do that, they'd probably get similar reaction.
And I think, you know,
being a professional wrestler, excuse me.
Yeah, and through my experience, I think I've learned too, and a lot of people, they think, you know, you're just, when you say this, it sounds like you're just doing a trope.
Right.
But I genuinely, when I tell people, you could do absolutely anything you want to do. You really can. Nothing's impossible. And they go, oh yeah, sure. But I mean, it's the truth. You can. You just have to make the decision. And then you always have to remain honest with yourself that you're willing to pay the price that it's going to take to achieve it. You know, and that's what it really comes down to. You know, I hear people all the time, every day, I'm sure you do too as well, that complain about, you know, I hate this job, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're not a tree. You're not planted. You can pick up and leave anytime you want.
Exactly.
And then, I can't do that. Why not? You can find another one just like it, and you could hate that job too. And then you can just go find another one there. Who cares? You know. But a lot of people, I think, and I know my own parents and a lot of my family members, you know, were caught up in, because I was told when I wanted to do something like this, which was not the traditional. Pursuit.
No, I don't mean that in any disrespect. I mean,
no,
it's just
not at all.
It's not.
I mean, it's not. I mean, you know, it's, you know, I was told, you know, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to this. You're not, you know, everything, and you need to have a regular job. That way you can be secure. But that security is a fallacy, and it more so even these days, because at any moment in time they could downsize. They can, whatever the corporate terms are for, hey, you're fired. Or we don't need you anymore.
We've automated. Yeah.
That can happen like that. So the belief that just because you have a typical vocation that allows you to go to the same building, perform the same tasks, you know, doesn't mean that you're any more secure than I am. You know, I know that it's not a matter of if at some point a particular aspect of what I'm doing is going to come to an end. It's going to change. It's a matter of when it's going to happen, and that's fine. And I'm willing to accept that and do what I need to do accordingly. You know, and I don't have an issue with that. But a lot of people do, because they have not lived the experience I've lived, where it's, basically I know at some point whatever I'm doing, it's going to change. It's going to become something different, either better or it's going to stop, and I'm going to then have to pick up and do something else.
Well, I think the most self-aware people, be it guests or just people I meet in life, have that kind of philosophy. They know that there's chapters and the seasons change.
Yeah, that I think, back to your other question about an aha moment, and this sounds incredibly morbid in one sense.
No, go ahead.
It really does, because every time I say it, and people are like, just kind of look at me, boy, you're dark. When my father passed away, I realized one truth about life is that not just people, but everything, every situation dies. Everything is, and for me, everything is a story. Every person is a story, and every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Every relationship's a story. Every job is a story. Every experience is a story, And I really believe at this point in my life, like I have lots of, what some people would consider negative experiences, but I don't consider them negative because it gives me enough information now that I can tell stories. Quite honestly, like you'd be sitting there going,
No.
What?
That happened?
That really happened? I'd be like, yep, that did.
More than once.
A couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and that means that for me, I've actually went out and lived a life and had all these experiences. Were they ones that I was looking forward to? Sometimes no. Yeah. Sometimes they worked out and they were like, hey, that's a good story. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, well, that's going to be a good story because nobody's going to trump that later.
Wow. So that's a great segue into this. And this, as I think with a lot of people, was a docu-series on Netflix that brought tremendous, I would say, worldwide attention to little old Louisville, Kentucky, if you will. We're not so little anymore between Bourbon and the Derby. But can you share with the audience kind of the backstory of what you're allowed to tell, so to speak, how that idea came up? Was it your idea and then you got the right people? Or did somebody just walk in one day and say, hey, I want to do this? And you're like, okay. I don't want to oversimplify it, but I'm just curious.
Situations like that really kind of are pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very, again, blessed because like I had the opportunity with WWE. I was a part of Tough Enough, which was a reality series. And at the time that reality TV was done, there was really only Survivor, and then there was, Real World.
Yeah,
that was it. Then, Tough Enough was a combination of the two. That was done for the very first time. And to get to be a part of that was an exceptional, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And then I get to be a part of the UK and Britain. I got to be a part of a similar kind of, but shorter, condensed version called British Boot Camp. Okay. And then now, out of nowhere, our mayor, Craig Greenberg, and radio personality Matt Jones had bought into, after COVID, we were in a situation with the company and they came in and bought into the company as partners. And then this is how crazy it works. Craig and his wife, or should I say Mayor Greenberg, I guess. I don't know.
It works, either one.
They were attending a party, or a wedding, I think it was a wedding, and there was a school classmate they both went to school with that was an executive producer for BBC America. And the conversation starts, and it's revealed that Craig has bought into this wrestling company, and Matt Jones, who's a big sports guy, he had the idea and pitched to the executive of the idea of doing a documentary similar to Last Chance U. Never in a million years expecting that you'd get the same guy who produced Last Chance U. But it just so happened that one of the other executive producers in the BBC America knew Greg Whiteley, who had produced Last Chance U and Cheer, who had done just amazing work with those topics. And the BBC producer, the second one, came here to Louisville, did what they call a sizzle reel. It's where it's a short, condensed little thing. Yep.
Well, I've done them, but I know what you're. But the average person might. You put all your good stuff in about a minute or two.
Yep.
It's like
and
the trailer.
So shows it to Greg. Greg is fascinated, And he goes to Netflix, convinces the executives to allow him to come here and film a reel to present to the executives. He comes here, falls in love with the place, gives the executives the reel. They greenlight it, and then May of that year, the crew showed up at the last week of May and literally filmed 12 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week until the end of August.
I knew it had to be a lot for those that haven't seen it, and I'll be frank, it's one of those kind of things that it could have really been bad.
Oh, it could have went off the rails.
Yeah, and it was so well done, edited, the sound.
And that's all a testament to the talent and the passion of Greg Whiteley and his crew. You know, they are
So
all,
wherever you are,
yeah,
Greg.
thank you, Greg.
Yeah, because that changed. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, it's tectonic, I would argue. So you're our 434th guest. No one's gotten out of the rocket seat, hot seat, as I call it, in all of those Moxie Talks interviews. This is our signature question.
Sure.
You know, God forbid you walk out of here today, the studio, and it's your last day on earth. How do you want to be remembered by family, friends, you know, co-wrestlers, co-promoters, owners? I could go on down the list.
I just want to be remembered.
You will be.
Oh, that's it. That's the one thing we all work so hard to do, and we don't even realize that we're trying to do it. We all just want to be remembered, because when you pass away from existence, nice way of saying you die, you
Right.
croak,
Yep.
assume room temperature. When you do, you're still alive. You're still present because somebody's still mentioning your name. You don't really die until the last person says your name for the last time. And I do everything I can every day to make sure that's going to go on as long as possible, long after I'm gone.
It's very true.
Somehow, some way, even if they're cussing me incessantly, they still talk about me,
Yeah.
which means I'm still there.
And it's true, having lost parents,
Yeah.
they're right there.
They're right. As long as you mention their name, they're always there. When you stop saying a person's name, that's because you really die 2 times. You physically die, but you really.
Well, there's more chapters, man. So I think, Al, you've got.
I told you, 33 years.
Yeah.
I'm tapping out. 93, I'm done.
Man, I'm humbled and honored you took your valuable time to come
No,
on
I
here.
really appreciate this. I really
Appreciate
enjoyed it.
Yeah, this has been awesome. If you've enjoyed today's discussion and it's inspired you, we would love to hear from you. And if you know someone who has Moxie and a story worth sharing, let's talk. Simply visit our website, moxietalk.com, or type Moxie Talk with Kirt Jacobs on all your social media platforms. Until next time, I'm Kirt Jacobs. Thanks for watching.